Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about DCKO Red Hood vs. the Joker issue 1 by Scott Snyder, Joshua Williamson, Dustin Nguyen, Giuseppe Camuncoli, Mark Morales and John Kalids. The final round of All Fight Month is here and it's one many fans have been itching to see, Joker vs. Red Hood. The first round for the hero and villain soon begins, and just as he's about to enter the arena, Jason thinks about the secret he has never really told anyone, thinking about how he knows people don't actually see him when they look at him. They see the Joker, his grin, his laugh, the crowbar that took his life, since they all think that Jason is Joker's creation. Jason is sick of that and wants that to change, and that's actually answering a problem that I have with Jason in that whenever he gets a series or a book that focuses on him, it feels so stagnant. He never really changes. It's always gun-toting Red Hood in that red helmet doing things, that are cool. There's really nothing more to him for me. Some writers have tried to inject something else into him to varying degrees of success, but it's almost immediately rejected by fanboys who only want him shooting things and looking cool. A case in point is anything Jeff Johns was doing with Jason during his time with Three Jokers. It's stuff that I didn't particularly like, but he was trying something new and people just immediately rejected it on the stance that it wasn't the Jason they knew. The book here is setting out its mission pretty simply. Jason's done fucking about with the Joker and living in his shadow, and this is his chance to right that wrong. Round 1 begins and Jason and Joker open fire on each other before running out of ammo very quickly and resorting to a knife fight, both equally as violent and vicious as the other. Jason remembers the first time he saw Bruce fight the Joker and how he felt the shock of seeing Batman, this man he had idolized for so long, actually struggle against what he thought at the time was just a bony, laughing clown man. Joker stabs Jason in the leg, slashing across his legs and thighs as Jason remembers how he soon realized that there is more to Joker than he could see at the time. And while he is fighting for his life in this battle, Joker is just having fun. Jason decides to show him some proper fun, stabbing his knife through the back of Joker's head and out of his mouth, kicking it deeper with his foot. So I don't know how Joker actually managed to survive this. This is such an insane move. This would kill someone. It would sever their spine, they'd be left, paralyzed. And maybe that was the point, but maybe Jason just missed, the spot he has to hit or something. But I don't know how he was able to survive this beyond, the Joker plot armor working in full effect. Joker runs off into the nearby alleyways of the arena as Jason goes for his secret weapon. Remembering how when the tournament begun, they were all able to bring one item with them into the tournament, and while he thought about what to bring, he instantly knew Joker, while assured by the League he and the other villains would be locked up, would eventually get out and find his way into the games, so he chose a weapon that he could use on Joker. In the present, Jason retrieves the special gun he took from his armory, knowing for years Bruce tried to come up with a way to cure Joker and revert the changes that the chemicals he fell into at Ace Chemicals did to him, and kill the demon living inside of him. So that's kind of a very smart idea, and I really like that this is the first time the one item rule has really come into play in these one-on-one fights. We've seen characters like Superman using his Dawn's Day knuckle dusters, but it seemed like every other hero or villain forgot that they had that one item they could have brought into the match with them. Snyder and Williamson remembering it for Jason and using it in such an interesting way that shows Jason maybe has learned a little bit from Bruce, or learned the preparedness side of a situation is really cool. Jason knows that the gun should turn Joker human again, but he's only got one shot. He pursues the villain into Ace Chemicals, demanding he show himself and fight, and Joker here is great. He's kind of like this shadow monster, kind of like a snake, circling their prey, he's like a predator. It's really cool. The way he's drawn here, he's on the rooftop above Jason and he looks like a coiled snake ready to pounce. It's really quite cool. Jason also referring to him as the demon, the demon that's inside this person that is the Joker is really cool. It kind of goes with what we've seen both Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson tackle with the Joker, where, we get varying degrees of different types where he's this immovable force of nature in the universe. Stuff that Scott Snyder has done during the New 52 where he's always meant to be there sort of thing. And then you get the more classic clown with the pranks and everything. There's a bit of everything rolled into one. Joker leaps at Jason from above, but Jason is ready, shooting Joker with the bullet, but the villain manages to slash Jason across the face with a buzzsaw. Still, the bullet hits its mark and Joker begins to mutate. told by Jason that Batman spent years for a cure, but he never actually found one, and that's good, since Joker doesn't deserve a cure. So what Jason did was he took his own version of the cure, filling the bullet with a compound that is made up of all of the same chemicals that made Joker who he is, only amplified tenfold, with the idea being that it will just mutate Joker even more and make him become overcome by the same poisonous chemicals that made him, allowing him to die a slow and painful death. Now this feels like a Red Hood approach to a plan. Oh, just kill the Joker with what made him. I can see how Jason would think that that would work, basically overwhelm Joker's systems and it would be just too much for him. But at the same time, it's such a stupid idea, just inject Joker with more chemicals to make him more insane and more jokery. And it turns out Jason was wrong, as Joker does indeed mutate into a huge multi-mouthed amorphous blob. Thinking Jason played the game nicely, but just before he's about to die, he reveals that he also brought his own toys, tossing a grenade at Jason, which blows the hero into a nearby chemical vat. Jason screams as his skin sluices off his body and is ravaged by the chemicals, not wanting to become like the Joker, but the villain knows no one but him could survive the chemicals since he's 1 in a billion, and he's proven right as Jason is overcome by the chemicals and ends up breaking his own neck, killing himself and allowing Joker to win the first round. As I said before, I really like how Snyder and Williamson are portraying Joker as kind of going down the middle of the different interpretations they've both done of the character. Like there's hint of the mysterious monstrous being Snyder wrote for many years during the New 52, like he might be more than a man and the chemicals just unlocked something in him, or he was always this monstrous entity, the chemicals just brought it out more in him. Then there's the bits and pieces of the more classical Joker using the gags and the props and stuff with what he's saying here about him being sort of a 1 in a billion in who could survive the chemicals that made him insane. Round 2 soon begins and both Joker and Jason choose their forms, with them both choosing very familiar forms, with Jason becoming Robin again around the time of his death and Joker becoming the Joker who killed Jason, complete with crowbar and bomb. Like at the start of the issue with Jason knowing that people see him as one thing, we get treated to a continuation of that idea, with Jason talking about how, along with people only ever seeing him as Joker's creation, some also only ever see him as the one Robin who died. They only see him as that character. Jason also catching onto what the heart is doing and how it's choosing the arenas and kind of pushing them towards certain forms, like this warehouse where he died, where the bomb is and everything, to keep things interesting is great. All of the heroes so far has had that moment of realization that, oh, this is just kind of a big spectacle. It needs that spectacle to like fuel its fires, sort of. And in that regard, it's kind of like the fandom in a way, where, it needs all of that big spectacle and flashy things in order to like keep it moving, keep the train moving forward, because if you don't have any of that, it slowly derails, and that's how books get cancelled. So it's great that the heroes are sort of catching on to that and kind of getting a little bit meta with it. So, hey, we need to do all of this flashy stuff, really? That we don't really usually do that. Jason decides to give the heart a show, leaping into battle with the Joker as the bomb timer ticks down from 30 seconds. Jason notes how it's strange being so young again, forgetting how angry and full of fury he was at this time. He lets that fuel his attacks, but Joker manages to hit him on the head with a crowbar, and it looks like Jason is about to relive his own death again. The boy, however, refuses to let that happen, since he isn't a kid anymore and he won't hold back against Joker this time, since he's not being marred by Batman's rules or anything anymore. This is interesting since Jason gets kind of a do-over in this part of his life with the experience he has as an adult now intact, knowing that he can just kill Joker now and not care about disappointing Batman, since, that's already happened, so like, why not? Jason snatches the crowbar from Joker, smashing him over and over again, demanding that Joker beg for him to live. But of course, Joker refuses, pulling a gun on Jason and demanding that he die. Jason dives out of the way of the bullet, and Joker's gun hits the bomb, setting it off early. The building explodes, but out of the rubble, Jason pulls Joker's dead body, with a great visual that mirrors his death, with Batman carrying his body out in the end of the Death in the Family storyline. Jason wins the match, but I like that there's a hint that it's kind of a bittersweet one, since Jason ends up falling into a manic laughter. So while he won, what was the cost? He broke his and Batman's rules about no killing, the Robin rule and the Batman rule of no killing, and it seems also his mind was broken because of that. So even though he didn't die and he did win, he would still be majorly fucked up if that was the timeline that it went around. I know people aren't happy at how Jason doesn't really get a proper win. Like, it always feels like there's a technicality, but I kind of feel like that's the point. It's not rewarding his way of working. It's not rewarding to just kill out of vengeance, just simply kill people. It feeds into like what we've been saying about the heart of Apokolips, and the heart wants to keep things interesting and keep it moving, and simply killing is not interesting. None of the other heroes have won that match out of revenge, and if anything, the combatants with revenge-orientated motives like Captain Atom completely got wiped off the map. With a win under his belt, Jason gets to see a world he saved and how his life is defined by both Batman and Joker. But what is his life, and what form does it take for himself? The heart demands that he choose a form, and Jason remembers his name, Red Hood, and how it was once Joker's before he became Joker, but there were many other Red Hoods before and since Joker, since Red Hood has always been a Gotham phrase, slang for the bad parts of town where he grew up. He knew that the Red Hood was the guy who did the bad thing. Jason becomes Red Hood once more, finding the arena is a graveyard as he thinks about how he and his friends would play as Red Hood as kids, equating the Red Hood to a sort of boogeyman to him that he would also draw as well. Jason wants to be a version of himself years from now, one he knows that might not be as faster or as stronger as he is now, but one who's wiser and has a legend all his own. See, this is the stuff I love. Snyder and Williamson are taking Red Hood and making him something for himself, making him his own person, and one he wants to stand on his own 2 feet and make his own persona his own. He wants to take the Red Hood name and make it his own. I can see why people didn't like this issue, since it's actually trying to change Red Hood for the better and try to make him a more well-rounded character and not just, that silhouette of that design that people would recognize. I know people won't agree with me, and that's totally fine. I completely get it, but that's exactly what it's going for here, and that's what I like. That's making Red Hood a character I've never really felt much need to read about compelling now. I'd like to read more about this version of Red Hood. Joker soon shows himself and had a similar idea to Jason, turning himself into Red Hood, swinging an axe at Jason and telling him whatever form he takes, he'll be nothing more than a footnote. Jason doesn't listen to Joker, burning him with a flamethrower before tackling him through several gravestones, finding that he doesn't care for Joker's cackling or comments anymore, since he's realized he's not part of his story anymore. Joker is now part of his, and he has become Joker's boogeyman. Joker stabs Jason over and over, tumbling into an open grave as both hero and villain fight like animals, smashing, slashing, and bashing each other over and over, as Jason knows that Joker is fighting like someone who is guilty, and he chases and hunts down those who are guilty. He rips the Red Hood helmet off of Joker's head, knowing it's like an executioner's hood, colored red for the blood of evil men, and he sees Joker's true face, but he doesn't care about it anymore, bashing it in with the helmet and killing him. Jason being free from Joker and the pain he caused him feels like such a giant leap for the character. He's overcome that deep trauma that has been in with him for years and feels like he can finally evolve into something else, and I'd love for the character arc to continue post DCKO. He becomes something else, and I know it wouldn't stick around because fans would, throw a hissy fit over it, but it would be an interesting way to take Jason Todd. It would give him some character outside of the Red Hood costume. Jason, wounded mortally from Joker's attacks, crawls from the grave, knowing that he wasn't created by either Joker or Batman. He made himself his own hero, remembering how he would always draw out the Red Hood as a child when he wasn't running around with his friends pretending to be the Red Hood. He collapses next to a grave, knowing Joker has some trick up his sleeve to live on, but Jason doesn't care, since he knows he really won right now. Again, this was Jason's whole deal in this fight. It wasn't to win and become King Omega. He was never going to do that. I don't know why people thought he was ever going to move on to the next round and have a chance at actually becoming the King Omega. That was never the point of this match. The point was just to have him fight Joker and him to finally get a chance to kill Joker. The gloves came off and he was able to win in the end. Jason was right about Joker finding a way to come back though, as Joker does indeed, using a defib unit he has embedded in his heart to come back to life just as Jason dies of his wounds, meaning Joker wins the entire match. Elsewhere at the Watchtower, the Darkseid-possessed Booster Gold has defeated Time Trapper, telling him the fighters have all moved to the next round, and it's too late now. He pushes Trapper up against a viewport, wanting him to watch as the fire pits are now completely full. Trapper watches helplessly as Earth is fully consumed in a fire, turning it completely into new Apokolips. So Apokolips finally being revealed wasn't how I saw the end of this Booster Gold interlude go, but I quite love it. I love that Earth has been more or less obliterated. New Apokolips is in its place. This is a huge step forward in the story, since what the hell are the next rounds going to be? I don't think it's going to be one-on-one fights, and I'm really intrigued to see what that Titans book becomes now, because that Titans book, there were still Titans on Earth evacuating people. What happens to them now? Are they now on New Apokolips dealing with some of the stuff on there? Kind of changes what all of those tie-in stories are going to be about. So I'm really intrigued to see what that means for it. Are we now just transitioning to New Apokolips and dealing with what comes out of New Apokolips now that it's been made? DCKO Red Hood versus the Joker issue 1 was another fantastic one-on-one fight. Jason getting a character overhaul from the writers who actually care about the character and want him to evolve past looking cool and staying in the shadows of both Batman and Joker is thoroughly interesting. Jason isn't a character I am really interested in at all, but what Snyder and Williamson begin doing with him here is really quite cool, and I hope it's something that we see in his story post DCKO, and it actually has me intrigued to want to follow on from this and actually get to see a Jason who was kind of free from the restraints of his past and his trauma and what the Joker did to him. I'd really like to see where that goes from here. It'd be really interesting to see if that actually continues. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.